UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
To all who listen to this happy podcast, this is Mickey's Marvels on the United Federation of Podcast Network.
You can contact the network at contact@ufp.earth, on Twitter at @UFPearth, and on Facebook.
I'm your host, Tribz, and join with me as he always is, my good friend, the baby Yoda to my Mandalorian. It's Patrick Devlin. Patrick, how are you?
I am good, Tribz. I'm about as good as I was 10 minutes ago when we did episode 6 and 7.
It seems like it's been forever that we recorded. 10 minutes to me
is an eternity.
When there's suspense involved. I can't stand it. This is getting ridiculous. We're down to the final episode of The Mandalorian in its first season. Magic, take it away. What did you think?
This was a great finale. This was truly... We still have not have a come down on an episode yet. I guess the come down is that I got to wait till the fall for episode 9.
Season 2, episode 1.
Correct. Episode 1 would be episode 9.
Right. Yeah. Math. Hashtag math is not hard. Okay. I truly enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a great finale. It was, we said it 10 minutes ago, with 7 being one of the great first-parters. And this actually settles everything in a sense to be a great second-parter as well. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was, again, very Western, very cowboy. Black Hat comes running in and ruling the town and burn the houses down, just like they did back then in the cowboy movies, and they did it here in this episode too. And it was a great, as much as episode 7 was a great redemption for the Ugnaught, episode 8 was a great redemption for the robot, which was once an assassin and becomes an angel in the end.
Okay, so let's get into that real quick, because I think this is the dumbest android ever. He's dumb. So now, all right, we have at the end of 7. We didn't even talk about this when we talked about 6 and 7, but at the end of 7, if I'm not mixing up when things happened, which is possible, we have Mando, Apollo Creed, and what's her name pinned down in a building, and a whole bunch of stormtroopers shooting in. We have not seen the man behind all this yet, right? Or no, we had. He did show up. He showed up in 7. We didn't even talk about this. I mean, we are terrible at this. So he shows up. We find out he's supposed to be dead, but obviously he's not. And he's as evil comes. Like, he's willing to kill his own people to make a point, which we find out at the beginning of this episode. Unfortunately, we didn't talk about this when we talked about 7, but the stormtroopers now have Baby Yoda at the end of that, which is what we were really getting to. And what I thought was really cool about this episode was they are told to wait outside the town because I can't remember his name, but he ended up killing his own unit because they bothered him, so nobody wants to go up and tell him that people are waiting outside. And they were just like 2 guys on the job BSing. Like, they weren't, like, every time we've ever seen stormtroopers, they've been very, like, professional and very soldierish. Like, it's been ridiculous. Like, they've never shown them just sitting around a water cooler. And now we got that. It was a really funny scene.
It was the best 3 minutes of Star Wars in any Star Wars movie. I mean, there was nothing, once the episode aired, social media blew up. People wanted people wanted a show based on these stormtroopers. It was like, friggin' roommates, in a dorm room.
They were hysterical.
It was hysterical. It was the funniest 3 minutes ever. Jason Sudeikis was one of the voices, I believe, of the Stormtroopers, or so I've been reading. That's another thing too. Is we are at the end essentially of the season, but the guest stars in this series have played pivotal roles in what they've done, and have done an absolute fantastic job for an A-plot show. They've been great supportive characters, and kudos to the writing for this to be done. But they've been great supportive characters, and they've, for what was written, they've acted very well, and I give kudos to each one of them for sure.
So Bike Scout Trooper number 1 is Jason Sudeikis, and Bike Scout Trooper 2 is Adam Pawley.
Second name I'm not familiar with.
Me neither, but that's just to let you know. And so the bad guy here, I just looked up, his name is Moff Gideon. He's the one who's supposed to be dead. We do find out, which is interesting, we find out what Mandalorian's real name is. Din Djarin. We see his mother, we see his father, we see a young version of him in this episode. Like, there's a lot going on here. And then the overall arcing story of the you have the two bike scouts, and the one's like, we should check on him. You punched him pretty hard. You just want to see him. Well, man, maybe we should give him water. You just want to see him. And
but honestly, I mean, wouldn't you do the same thing? These are average Joe conversations.
Right, well, that's why it was so great. But I was expecting him to be missing. Like, I was expecting him, and then he bites his hand. It's hysterical. So, more to the point, though, the droid, and this is what I wanted to get into, the droid goes and gets him, right? The
IG-11.
Yes, IG-11. He goes and gets Baby Yoda back, and then immediately drives right back to the town where everyone's trying to find him. Why didn't he go to the ship?
I don't know. I don't have.
Why didn't he go to the ship?
I don't have an answer. I mean, it would be the smart thing to do, yes, to go back. I don't have an answer. I don't, because, in my head, man, you hate this, but I'll do some friggin' lunges anyway at this. For mental lunges, I would think that maybe he felt the need not only to save the baby, but to be a supportive, to be supportive to Mando, just as the Ugnaught wanted. I mean,
but the Ugnaught was going back to the ship,
right? But just as in another support role. Yeah, I know. I'm wrong. Listen, it's not often I'm wrong, and I'll be proven wrong on audio with all my guesses, and that's fine too. It only goes to show that I have one train of thought. But
dumbest droid in history of Star Wars.
I don't know. I think he's more of a protector. But you're right. We do have a lot going on with this story. We go to Din Djarin's past a little bit. The one thing I wasn't too wow about was the whole talk about, through the series, about why Mandalorians don't take off their helmets, and it's a ritual and blah blah blah. But then he takes off the helmet. I'm like, and because there was such a big deal for 7 episodes. But I'm like, he's dying, big whoop. He's got to take off his helmet. Okay, it wasn't so much of a big reveal for me. It wasn't. That's something I didn't care about.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a way to get the actor's face on screen. So, okay. I thought it was cool the way they skirted the issue of him being able to put it back on for season 2, that a droid's not a living being. Which is why the droid brings the Baby Yoda back, because he has to be there when he dies. So I get it. It has a story plot element that we need this droid back with Mando. Okay. It just is so dumb he brings the baby back with him. But Going into that, though, he's dying because they were overrun. They were losing. Guess what? He lost another fight, people. And this time that fight leads to the fact that I didn't catch this in episode 7. I didn't realize that he went back that they were on the planet where the Mandalorian are from. I didn't realize that. I guess I just didn't pay attention. But they're back on Mandalore or whatever. And now all the Mandalorian are dead.
Yeah, that kind of confused me too.
No, it frustrated me very much so. They're the greatest fighters ever, but on their own home planet, they couldn't fight against a bunch of ragtag stormtroopers from an organization that no longer exists.
Yeah, that kind of, it upset me at the same time, but it also confused me as well. Again, you have the greatest warriors in all of the land, and then to be shot up by stormtroopers, to be shot up, to be overrun. Just how many are there in this?
On the Death Star, they couldn't shoot anybody.
Yeah, that's the running joke. Yeah,
anybody, and now all of a sudden they're murdering an entire. Well, let's get into that too. They're murdered an entire religion because we do find here Mandalorian is not a race. They say it outright. They finally just say it, which is what we've been talking about for episode upon episode. They're not a race. They're more of a religion. That they're a creed, okay, whatever. The stormtroopers who couldn't hit anybody now wiped out the Catholic Church. Like, that's what they're telling me.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's amazing because I thought, you said it too, it's being a race. I thought there would be more of them. But then they get run over by, and it's a classic trope. You're right. Stormtroopers can't hit their way out of a wet paper bag. Yes. But I thought really at this home planet that there would be a lot more Mandalorians to at least put up a fight with a stormtrooper.
No, they got to win. With the way you've talked about them, like anyone sees their armor and they know instantly these are the greatest fighters in the universe. They don't even need to know anything about them except their uniform. And then they lose to stormtroopers who everyone looks at and goes, oh, these guys again.
I could say this is 5 years past Jedi, so they've learned a thing or two about scopes and aiming.
They should be worse.
But they should.
They should be worse. The people who were backing them financially don't exist anymore.
That is true. And so they learn on their own. They did it in episode 4. People have done it in episode 4, and look at them. They came out to be on top. But I mean, that's the one thing that confused me is how did they overrun the race? I didn't get.
Well, the religion.
Or the religion, excuse me. How did they overrun the religion? And I don't understand that. Because it was, much like you said, when you have that sort of religion, there's followers, and they perceive to be many followers, but they just never got the page, never got the phone call to come back home because we're being invaded.
And even if they did, there was a bunch of bodies on the floor.
Yeah.
So they should have been able to win that fight easily. If Mando and two people could hold them off for as long as they did, the amount of dead Mandalorians should have been able to hold off longer.
Absolutely.
And better.
Yeah, and I mean, we see it in this episode too, where 5 essentially, 4 or 5 people hold off an army.
Right.
Bunkered into a bar. They hold off what they can. You would think the Mandalorian race would be able to do the same.
Win the fight, period.
Be able to win the fight, period.
And then all we have left is the one woman who makes the armor, so you're figuring she's like the head of the religion, right? And she's going to stay behind, though, to fight. So the whole race couldn't stop them, but she's going to hold off the whole army coming through the tunnels.
The martyr.
It's
the only thing I can think of is that
it's the only negative of the episode, but it's a glaring weakness of the episode, in my opinion.
It could be considered a down. Maybe.
No, it's a glaring weakness, in my opinion.
Well, it's a glaring weakness, sure, but I think it's more of I think it is I say it down because the